Phyllis Taylor and Richard Taylor, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having us.
In 1971, you became involved in a campaign, and that was for Bangladesh, the independence of Bangladesh. And you have written a book called Blockade, and that describes what happened, what was happening at that time in this country and how you supported the cause of Bangladesh. Can you give us an idea about how you became involved in that campaign?
Well, in that summer, we heard in news reports about the massacres that were going on in what was then East Pakistan by the Pakistani army. And we were horrified, but we didn't know what we could do. Then we found out through a news report that our own government was sending a lot of military aid to West Pakistan, but we're saying, no, we're horrified also, we're not sending any. So it's a big secret, in a sense, that was happening. So we wondered, well, how could we expose this? How could we bring this to light? Because the American people would not like it if they knew that we were sending military aid to a dictatorship. And we were having a meeting one afternoon, and a member of the meeting said, well, these ships are coming into our harbors. We ought to mine the harbor. We ought to blow them up, you know. And another fellow who had worked very closely with Martin Luther King, as I had, said, yes, we should mine the harbor. You're exactly right, but we ought to mine them with our own bodies. We ought to find little canoes and kayaks and small boats and sail out in front of these freighters. And we know we won't be able to actually prevent them from docking, but it will be such a dramatic story that the news media will cover it, and that will reveal to the American people what our government is doing, and they will put pressure on the government to change the policy, which is what happened.
Wonderful. Phyllis, you were there at some stage as well.
I was. For me, and I think for many people, the horror of what we began to see in the paper, a picture of a man carrying his wife who had died, just carrying her, stuck in our hearts and our souls, and we felt we have to find ways to address this, not only through the blockades of the ships, but other ways that regular people with their children could act in support of the people of what is now Bangladesh, so that the injustices, the harm, the suffering that we were beginning to see would stop. We did not want to be silent, because if we're silent, then evil can exist. And we were seeing that manifested in what was happening in East Pakistan, or now Bangladesh.
How many people were involved in this campaign, and how did you organize yourselves?
I think one of the wonderful things about the campaign, it was only about 40 people at the maximum. And what we did when we found that a boat called the Padma was coming into Baltimore Harbor, which is just south of Philadelphia where we lived, we said, let's get the canoes. So we got the small boats, we put them on top of our cars, we drove down to Baltimore, and then we watched out for the ship. And when the ship came, we launched and we went out and tried to block it.
Obviously, you had a plan.
Yeah.
So you had experience in this kind of campaign, right?
Well, in many ways, no. That it was spontaneous. We love to canoe or small boats. And it made sense, as Dick was saying, that rather than use military force, we would use the force of goodness in the canoes and go out in front of them. But a lot of what developed, not only with the blocking of the Padma, but the blocking of another ship called the Al Hamadi, who came into Philadelphia, a lot of the other things that were done that people don't know about, that's what kept the pictures in front of the U.S. people.
Right.
And that's what made pressure on the U.S. government to say we do not support what is going on in our Bangladesh.
Thank you so much, Richard Taylor and Phyllis Taylor, for your time and for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our privilege.
Actually, we are honored that you have come to our studio today, and I hope that people of Bangladesh, they will appreciate what you have done for the country.
Thank you.
কথা বলছিলাম দুই মুক্তিযোদ্ধা রিচার্ড টেইলর এবং ফিলিস টেইলরের সাথে বাংলাদেশে 1971 সালে যারা যুদ্ধ করেছেন, যারা শহীদ হয়েছেন, যারা আহত হয়েছেন, যারা বিভিন্নভাবে যুদ্ধ করেছেন, বিভিন্ন ফ্রন্ট থেকে যুদ্ধ করেছেন, তাদেরই দুই সহযোদ্ধা আমেরিকান এই দুই নাগরিক রিচার্ড টেইলর এবং ফিলিস টেইলর, তারা তাদের কাহিনী বললেন। বল্টিমোর হারবার থেকে এই ওয়াশিংটন থেকে 1 ঘন্টা লাগে এই বল্টিমোর হারবারে যেতে, বল্টিমোর বন্দরে যেতে, যেখান থেকে জাহাজে করে সেই সময়কার পাকিস্তান সামরিক জান্তার জন্য আমেরিকা থেকে অস্ত্র যাচ্ছিল, তাতে বাধা দিয়েছিলেন, প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছিলেন কয়েকজন নাগরিক, তাদের মধ্যে ছিলেন রিচার্ড টেইলর এবং ফিলিস টেইলর। তাদের প্রতি শ্রদ্ধা জানিয়ে শেষ করছি আজকের অনুষ্ঠান।